He landed breathless in front of Catelyn Stark, an ungainly-looking man with wild tufts of rust-colored hair sticking out from under a conical steel cap. "20 men, maybe 25, he said, breathless. "Milk snakes, or moon brothers, by my guess. They must have eyes out, my lady. Hidden watchers. They know we're here." Sir Roderick Cassel was already a horse, a long sword in hand. Mohor crouched behind a boulder, both hands on his iron-tipped spear, a dagger between his teeth. "You, singer!" Sir Willis Woade called out. "Help me with this breastplate." Merylon sat frozen, clutching his wood harp, his face as pale as milk. But Tyrion's man, Morek, bounded quickly to his feet and moved to help the knight with his armor. Tyrion kept his grip on Catelyn Stark. "You have no choice," he told her. "3 of us, and a 4th man wasted guarding us. 4 men can be the difference between life and death up here. Give me your word that you will put down your sword again after the fight is done." "My word." The hoofbeats were louder now. Tyrion grinned crookedly. "Oh, that you have, my lady, on my honor as a Lannister." For a moment, he thought she would spit at him, but instead she snapped, "Arm them!" And as quickly as that, she was pulling away. Sir Roderick tossed Jack his sword and scabbard and wheeled to meet the foe. Morek helped himself to a bow and quiver and went to one knee beside the road. He was a better archer than swordsman, and Brune rode up to offer Tyrion a double-bladed axe. "I have never fought with an axe." The weapon felt awkward and unfamiliar in his hands. It had a short heft, a heavy head, a nasty spike on top. "Pretend you're splitting logs," Brune said, drawing his long sword with the scabbard across his back. He spat and trotted off to form up beside Clegane and Sir Roderick. Sir Willis mounted up to join them, fumbling with his helmet, a metal pot with a thin slit for his eyes and a long black silk plum. "Logs don't bleed," Tyrion said to no one in particular. He felt naked without armor. He looked around for a rock and ran over to where Merylon was hiding. "Move over." "Go away!" the boy screamed back at him. "I'm a singer. I'm not part of this fight." "What? Lost your taste for adventure?" Tyrion kicked at the youth until he slid over, and not a moment too soon. A heartbeat later, the riders were on them. There were no heralds, no banners, no horns nor drums, only the twang of bowstrings as Morek and Larys let fly, and suddenly the clansmen came thundering out of the dawn, lean, dark men in boiled leather and mismatched armor, faces hidden behind barred half-helms. In gloved hands were clutched all manner of weapons, long swords and lances and sharpened scythes, spiked clubs and daggers and heavy iron mauls. At their head rode a big man in a striped shadow-skin cloak, armed with a two-handed greatsword. Sir Roderick shouted, "Winterfell!" and rode to meet him, with Brune and Ŝigen beside him, screaming some wordless battle cry. Sir Willis Woade followed, swinging a spiked morning star around his head. "Harnhal! Harnhal!" he sang. Tyrion left a sudden urge to leap up, brandish his axe, and boom out, "Casterly Rock!" But the insanity passed quickly, and he crouched down lower. He heard the screams of frightened horses and the crash of metal on metal. Ŝigen's sword raked across the naked face of a mailed rider, and Brune plunged through the clansmen like a whirlwind, cutting down foes right and left. Sir Roderick hammered at the big man in the shadow-skin cloak, their horses dancing round each other as they traded blow for blow. Jack vaulted onto a horse and galloped bareback into the fray. Tyrion saw an arrow sprout from the throat of the man in the shadow-skin cloak. When he opened his mouth to try to scream, only blood came out. By the time he fell, Sir Roderick was fighting someone else. Suddenly, Merlon shrieked, covering his head with his wood harp, as a horse leapt over the rock. Tyrion scrambled to his feet as the rider turned to come back at them, hefting a spiked maul. Tyrion swung his axe with both hands. The blade caught the charging horse in the throat with a meaty thunk, angling upward, and Tyrion almost lost his grip as the animal screamed and collapsed. He managed to wrench the axe free and lurch clumsily out of the way. Merlon was less fortunate. Horse and rider crashed to the ground in a tangle on top of the singer. Tyrion danced back in a while. The brigand's leg was still pinned beneath his fallen mount, and buried the axe in the man's neck just above the shoulder blades. As he struggled to yank the blade loose, he heard Merlon moaning under the bodies. "Somebody help me," the singer gasped. "Gods have mercy, I'm bleeding." "I believe that's horse blood," Tyrion said. The singer's hand came crawling out from beneath the dead animal, scrabbling in the dirt like a spider with 5 legs. Tyrion put his heel on the grasping fingers and felt a satisfying crunch. "Close your eyes and pretend you're dead," he advised the singer before he hefted the axe and turned away. After that, things ran together. The dawn was full of shouts and screams, and heavy with the scent of blood, and the world had turned to chaos. Arrows hissed past his ear and clattered off the rocks. He saw Brune unhorsed, fighting with a sword in each hand. Tyrion kept on the fringes of the fight, sliding from rock to rock and darting out of the shadows to hew at the legs of passing horses. He found a wounded clansman and left him dead, helping himself to the man's half-helm. It fit too snugly, but Tyrion was glad of any protection at all. Jack was cut down from behind while he sliced at a man in front of him, and later Tyrion stumbled over Croquette's body. The pig face had been smashed in with a mace, but Tyrion recognized the dirk as he plucked it from the man's dead fingers. He was sliding it through his belt when he heard a woman scream. Catelyn Stark was trapped against the stone face of the mountain with 3 men around her, one still mounted and the other 2 on foot. She had a dagger clutched awkwardly in her maimed hands, but her back was to the rock now, and they had penned her on 3 sides. "Let me have the bitch," Tyrion thought, and welcome to her. Yet somehow he was moving. He caught the first man in the back of the knee before they even knew he was there, and the heavy axe head split flesh and bone like rotten wood. Logs that bleed, Tyrion thought inanely as the second man came for him. Tyrion ducked under his sword, lashed out with his axe. The man reeled backward, and Catelyn Stark stepped up behind him and opened his throat. The horseman remembered an urgent engagement elsewhere and galloped off suddenly. Tyrion looked around. The enemy were all vanquished or vanished. Somehow, the fighting had ended when he wasn't looking. Dying horses and wounded men lay all around, screaming or moaning. To his vast astonishment, he was not one of them. He opened his fingers and let the axe thunk to the ground. His hands were sticky with blood. He could have sworn that they had been fighting for half a day, but the sun seemed scarcely to have moved at all. "Your first battle?" Brune asked later as he bent over Jack's body, pulling off his boots. They were good boots, as befit one of Lord Tywin's men, heavy leather, oiled and supple, much finer than what Brune was wearing. Tyrion nodded. "My father will be so proud," he said. His legs were cramping so badly he could scarcely stand. Odd, he had never once noticed the pain during the battle. "You need a woman now," Brune said with a glint in his black eyes. He shoved the boots into the saddlebag. "Nothing like a woman after a man's been blooded, take my word." Ŝigen stopped looting the corpses of the brigands long enough to snort and lick his lips. Tyrion glanced over to where Lady Stark was dressing Sir Roderick's wounds. "I'm willing if she is," he said. The free riders broke into laughter, and Tyrion grinned and thought, "That's a start." Afterward, he knelt by the stream and washed the blood off his face in water cold as ice. As he limped back to the others, he glanced again at the slain. The dead clansmen were thin, ragged men, their horses scrawny and undersized, with every rib showing. What weapons Brún and Ŝíginn had left them were none too impressive. Mauls, clubs, a scythe. He remembered the big man in the shadow-skin cloak who had dueled Sir Roderick with a two-handed greatsword, but when he found his corpse sprawled on the snowy ground, the man was not so big after all. The cloak was gone, and Tyrion saw that the blade was badly notched, its cheap steel spotted with rust. Small wonder the clansmen had left 9 bodies on the ground. They had only 3 dead, 2 of Lord Bracken's men-at-arms, Croquet and Mohar, and his own man Jack, who had such a bold show with his bareback charge. A fool to the end, Tyrion thought. Lady Stark, I urge you to press on, with all haste, Sir 𝘕𝘋𝑻𝑜𝘵𝑗 said, his eyes scanning the ridge-tops warily through the slit in his helm. We drove them off for the moment, but they will not have gone far. We must bury our dead, Sir 𝘕𝑒𝑙𝑖s, she said. These were brave men. I will not leave them to the crows and shadowcats. This soil is too stony for digging, Sir 𝘕𝑒𝑙𝑖s said. Then we shall gather stones for cairns? Gather all the stones you want, Brún told her, but do it without me or Ŝíginn. I've better things to do than pile rocks on dead men, breathing for one. He looked over the rest of the survivors. Any of you who hope to be alive come nightfall, ride with us. My lady, I fear he speaks the truth, Sir Roderick said wearily. The old knight had been wounded in the fight, a deep gash in his left arm, and a spear thrust that grazed his neck, and he sounded his age. If we linger here, they will be on us again for a certainty, and we may not live through a second attack. Tyrion could see the anger in Catelyn's face, but she had no choice. May the gods forgive us then. We will ride at once. There was no shortage of horses now. Tyrion moved his saddle to Jack's spotted gelding, who looked strong enough to last another 3 or 4 days at least. He was about to mount when Lyrys stepped up and said, I'll take that deck now, dwarf. Let him keep it. Catelyn Stark looked down from her horse. And see that he has his axe back as well. We may have need it if we are attacked again. You have my thanks, lady, Tyrion said, mounting up. Save them, she said curtly. I trust you no more than I did before. She was gone before he could frame a reply. Tyrion adjusted his stolen helm and took the axe from Brún. He remembered how he had begun the journey, with his wrists bound and a hood pulled over his head, and decided that this was a definite improvement. Lady Stark could keep her trust. So long as he could keep the axe, he would count himself ahead in the game. Sir Willis Woade led them out. Brune took the rear, with Lady Stark safely in the middle, Sir Roderick a shadow beside her. Marilyn kept throwing sullen looks back at Tyrion as they rode. The singer had broken several ribs, his wood harp, and all 4 fingers on his playing hand. Yet the day had not been an utter loss to him. Somewhere he had acquired a magnificent shadow-skin cloak, thick black fur, slashed by stripes of white. He huddled beneath its folds silently, and for once had nothing to say. They heard the deep growls of shadow cats behind them before they had gone half a mile, and later the wild snarling of beasts fighting over the corpses they had left behind. Marilyn grew visibly pale. Tyrion trotted up beside. "Craven," he said, "rhymes nicely with raven." He kicked his horse and moved past the singer, up to Sir Roderick and Catelyn Stark. She looked at him, lips pressed together tightly. "As I was saying before we were rudely interrupted," Tyrion began, "there is a serious flaw in Littlefinger's fable. Whatever you may believe of me, Lady Stark, I promise you this: I never bet against my family."